What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take NFL DFS Wise Stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013, and I am joined by the two GOATs, the two OGs of the Wise Take Nation, who helped get us through a very grueling NFL season. But we are here. It's playoff time, man. Playoff time here. NBA action's going on. We got all kinds of madness happening. Starting off, I got the names backwards. I'm going to fix that right now. We're going to start off introducing Patio Joe, the man who needs no introduction. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe. Ref, Joey, what's happening, bro?
Not much, man. It's Wildcard Weekend. We have 2 extra games for the first time ever, so I'm really enjoying these 2 days of 3 games a day.
Man, absolutely. I'm with it. I like the new playoff game, giving us a little something extra. I'm loving it. Paulie D, who you can find on Twitter at Paulie with 8 Ds, because 7 wasn't good enough. Paulie, what's happening?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Living good, man. Living good. Just exciting things. We got NBA. Me and you have been just killing the NBA. It's been brutal. Like in a good way though. Like we've been slaughtering NBA DFS. Glad to have that, and it's great because now we got some ammo to fire away at these 2 fucking 3-game slates that Joe mentioned. Let's fucking go. Let's go. I'm pumped. That's my midnight pump. I can't be screaming and yelling at midnight. That's the midnight pump right there. All right.
Yeah, especially right now. Especially right now with your wife 9 months pregnant.
Yes.
That is your midnight pump.
That's the new midnight pump. Yes. We're gonna cover both slates on this one show because we're just swell guys. And we're gonna start off with the Saturday slate. We're gonna go position by position, and then we will switch it over to the Sunday slate. And then at the end, if there's any thoughts on the Saturday Sunday, because I know there's some good contests out there, we could touch on that, gentlemen. We're gonna start off though with the quarterback position as usual for the Saturday slate. Joe, I'm kicking it to you. What we doing to quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think the quarterback position on Saturday slate is pretty simple. You're going to pay up for Josh Allen, and then if you wanted to get a little bit pay down to me, Tom Brady would be your second option. If you want to get contrarian, you go Russell Wilson. I just don't think the other guys on the slate have the upside. We don't even know who's starting for 2 of the teams right now. We think it's Goff, and we think it could be Alex Smith, but both guys could be, their backups could be coming in. And then Phillip Rivers is fine. I just don't think that he has the ceiling to keep up with Allen or Brady. So I think 75-80% of the ownership is going to be concentrated to those 2 guys on Saturday. It's pretty simple.
Pretty simple. I'm digging it. Paulie, what you got, Hal?
Hard to really disagree with what Joe said on DraftKings. They went so soft on the pricing. Like, I think there's very rarely do I say this, but I think leaving money on the table is viable. But Josh Allen, Tom Brady, Russ Wilson, the only 3 that I will roster. I just have zero interest in Goff, Rivers, or Alex Smith, or if it's their backups. Just those 3. I think I like Tom Brady the most. Probably followed by Josh Allen, and then Russ Wilson third.
Yeah, I got nothing different. It's pretty straightforward, right? Josh Allen's going to be the chalk, clearly, right? The highest total game right out the gate. Early game right out the gate. Pair him with Stephon Diggs. He's been one of the best fantasy cornerbacks all year right out the gate. So if Josh Allen doesn't end up my highest owned, it's only because I wanted to get different. Yeah, get different. And if I'm getting different, option 1, I think Brady will have the second most ownership. The thing about Washington, I do think Brady's going to be under pressure, so I'm a little worried about ceiling. However, Washington's actual secondary, in my opinion, is not that good. It's just their defensive line is so fucking good at putting up pressure that they're able to make the quarterback get rid of the ball quick. But it's Tom Brady, so I agree with that. But I do think he'll be the second highest owned. If not, it may be a close margin because of how much cheaper he is than Josh Allen. And then, of course, Russ Wilson is I know you got the talent, you've been asked. I know you got the talent, tough matchup. But he's the low-owned guy that has the ceiling we're looking for. So, yeah, Alex Smith, all those guys, whatever. But in reality, it's those 3 quarterbacks for me as well. Running backs.
Yeah, I mean, one last thing I'll say about Brady is that you brought up that Washington is going to force them to throw, to get rid of the ball quick, and like nobody does that better than Tom Brady. And
Yeah,
he's got two guys. He's got two guys with Godwin and Antonio Brown that are like perfect for that. So that's why I like him.
agreed.
You know what I mean? He's gonna get the ball out of his hand really quick. Running backs, it's this slate for running backs is not very good. You kind of almost have to kind of see how the game scripts are going to go. Like for Indy and Buffalo, like Jonathan Taylor, if you think Indy's going to be in the game the entire game, I think Taylor has the best matchup of any running back this week. I think they can exploit it and run the ball. But if you think that Buffalo's going to get up big and it's going to turn into a Naheem Hines game, which I like, which I don't mind, especially he's cheap, value, he's going to be involved, especially on DK. I like it. Same thing goes with Washington game. McKissick, to me, is one of the best plays on the slate when it comes to value. I think they're going to be down. He's going to get a lot of targets. If he doesn't get targets, he's going to get some carries too. All the other running backs on the slate, I'm not really into. I mean, Carson is okay. Ronald Jones, I could see if the script is good enough, but I could also see Fournette fucking things up. And then Cam Akers is just like he got 19 carries last week and just did not play very well. So I don't know if he was totally healthy, but he gave him 19 carries. So I just think all those other guys that aside from the ones that I pointed out are kind of all the same and kind of have that same like you just don't know how they're going to perform. So running back's kind of tough on Saturday slate.
What do you think, Paulie?
As we were all talking about quarterback and agreeing with everything, I think Goff's actually worth some looks as a contrarian option because they may have him throw a million times and nobody's going to be on him, right? Like we've seen him play the Rams a ton. They throw a ton. So he's probably worth grabbing at such low ownership if everyone's just going to be playing the big three. That's it. RB, yeah. For this slate, I plan to play both Hines and Taylor on the same team. I think it's just a really weak position. I like the guys in Tampa. I think that they win that game easily, and they end up running a lot in the second half. Ronald Jones or Fournette, they kind of split that. And then Carson's the only other one I really plan to get much exposure to. Like I think McKissick's fine too, but I don't know if Redskins are going to score any points in this game or at least touchdowns. So Hines, Ronald Jones, Chris Carson, Johnny Taylor, and Leonard Fournette. Pretty much my whole pool.
I feels you. So obviously you got the Taylor situation. So I'll have some Taylor, of course. It is a good matchup for Taylor. But I do believe in like if I'm doing Josh Allen teams and triple stacks, while it would be like, oh yeah, maybe I just don't see a scenario where the Bills are really trailing from that much. So I think that I do kind of like Hines because I do think the Colts trail. And we get a lot of targets there. He provides some leverage off Taylor. Very few people will play him together. Will play him, and even less will play them together. I agree with Paulie on that for the ownership. So I like Hines a lot. He's cheap. I like Taylor, but he's kind of obvious, right? He'll be the most popular running back on the slate. And then McKissick, I also like, especially on DraftKings PPR. Let's go. Alex Smith is banged up. He couldn't get away from anybody against Philly. He's still hurt. He's trying to play, and he's hurt. I'm assuming he's going to play, but he is hurt, and so we can expect more of what Alex Smith does best, check down city, and it's a damn shame because it's a good spot for McLaurin. So I do like McKissick. And my favorite, though, I think, is probably Cam Akers. And the reason is the price relative to the volume. Seattle's not even that bad against the run, especially with Jamal Adams there. But the volume, Jared Goff, while I do think is interesting in tournaments, like he is genuinely hurt. He just hurt his hand 2 weeks ago. To a point where they were in a must-win game last week, and he couldn't play. They had to sit him out. That tells me, and Cam Akers, who was banged up, got 21 carries and 4 targets. So that tells me they were trying their hardest to win that game, and Goff was really just too fucked up. And I don't know how much you could really improve from a week to where you couldn't even play to now, you're expected to just get thrown out there, supposedly. I think we're going to see a lot of running, and I think the Rams are going to trust their defense. And I think we're going to see Cam Akers get fed a ton. And his price relative to everything else just doesn't make sense. Like, he's going to get the same volume. He'll probably get more guaranteed volume at this point than Taylor. And he's like $2,000 cheaper. I understand it's a different game and all that. But not for nothing, but I think the Rams are going to be relying on him even more than the Colts may rely on Taylor. So I do like Cam Akers. I'll let you boys scream mode. Let's go to receivers. Joey, back to you.
Yeah, receivers, Stephon Diggs is probably one of the top receivers on the whole entire slate both days. I know that he has an oblique issue, but he's going to be playing. He's got a good matchup. He's going to be facing Xavier Rhodes or whoever else that's going to come in for Rocky Sin, who's going to be out. So, Stephon Diggs, like I said, he faced Xavier Rhodes, who they played against with each other in Minnesota, so they know each other pretty well. I just like him. And then Chris Godwin, I like almost just as much. We talked about the short passes, and especially if Evans isn't there, Godwin and Antonio Brown are going to be the benefactors of the target shares. As for DK Metcalf, he's below 7K to where it's getting to the point where he's gonna get. He doesn't have to do that much to get value, and we know that the ceiling is there. Like his ceiling is where Diggs could be. So he could break the slate and such. I already brought up Antonio Brown. The other guy I think might go a little bit overlooked is Cooper Kupp. His price is at 6,400 on FanDuel, and 2 weeks ago he was a core play for my cash games because he just gets targeted all the time when he plays the Seahawks. So 2 weeks ago, before he got COVID, he had 9 targets. He had 8 receptions, 66 yards. He just didn't get in the end zone. So if Goff is playing, or even he's not, he's going to be targeted because he's got a great matchup. I prefer him over Woods. Zach Pascal is another guy I think that is has the best matchup of any of the guys for Indianapolis because he's in the slot. I think all the other guys, you could. If you're doing a lot of lineups, you could just throw like darts at them. Gabriel Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, Van Jefferson, Michael Pittman, all those guys. I think is fine. I think Cole Beasley is like the wild card to me. I feel like at 6K he's a little bit too expensive. Like he's just not. When he's under 6K on FanDuel, he's okay because he's a half point. It's a half point PPR, so he has to score. But to me, my favorite receivers. Diggs, Godwin, and Kupp are my 3 favorite, and then DK to be a little contrarian. I think with DK, I just think you're going to get him as low of ownership as you're going to get him on a 3-game slate as you ever would, because people are just going to see Ramsey and just not go there.
I disagree with that. Paulie?
So, this is the position that, I think has by far the most variance. You want to try to take risks here. First of all, who do you guys, where do you guys stand on Mike Evans and Cole Beasley? Do you guys expect them to play or not?
I think they're both going to play. I just don't know how long they're going to be in there. Especially Evans, his knee, they could limit his reps and stuff. And, he's got to get downfield quick because, he's going to be under pressure for Brady. And for Beasley, I think he's going to try and play. But it's the first game of the day, so at least you'll know.
What is Beasley's injury?
This is knee.
His knee. And have either of them practiced?
Listed as questionable. Beasley's status is trending in a positive direction after Buffalo's private select returned to practice for the first time since injury in week 16. And this was on the 7th, so that was yesterday. So he's listed as questionable. So they didn't practice today.
Yeah, okay. If those guys are in, what their status is, are they just decoys, is really interesting this week and makes a big, difference. But I like the Bucs receivers the best on this slate, Godwin and Antonio Brown especially. I will dig into Mike Evans' injury a little bit more to see how effective I think he can be out there. If he practiced at all, though, I would be confident he's going to play. So we'll see. Stephon Diggs is obviously the stud on the slate at the position. You know, I just thought of him. I like Tyler Lockett. I like John Brown. I think he's a really interesting contrarian play that could have a big game. Like, if you're the Colts, like, you have to like bracket or double team Stephon Diggs, I think. And I think the other Bills receivers may, have bigger days. And I think it's possible the Colts lead this game and the Bills are forced to come from behind. Like, I'm not convinced that the Bills just get ahead and like play ahead the whole game. I think this game's really, really evenly matched up.
Paul, let me ask you this question. Like, do you think it's chasing if you're playing Isaiah McKenzie from what he did last week?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Like, yeah, I think so too. And what about? Do you think also you are considered to be in the Mile High Club if you masturbate on the airplane?
No.
Consider me a man.
No, that doesn't count. Come on now. That doesn't count. You can't call yourself a Mile High Club. It's got to be like half a Mile High Club. You got to lose something, right? There's two parties involved, and then now there's only one. You lose half credit.
Yeah, I agree with that, but consider me a member.
Of course.
It's a whole different kind of dirty.
We had that set up in the chat earlier today, Paulie, that I was going to ask you that question. So.
Very nice. Anything else at receiver?
You guys are all in the basketball chat. We still are talking football in the football chat right now.
Oh, I see you guys.
Everyone's...
I had to go in there and set the record straight with Lindor. Ha ha! Yes. Let's go Mets. Yeah, I'm with you guys. Diggs is like the cash game play. I mean, I'm good with him regardless. He's gotten double-digit targets in every, like, the last 4 games outside of the last game because they quit early. So, yeah, what's not to... It's a zone defense the Colts play. So, you would think that Diggs, a veteran like himself, is going to know how to find the holes in the zone. So, I like it. Now, I do think that Beasley is probably my favorite pivot on the same team. He was getting double-digit targets all season, missed some time. I've read that he is saying he's very confident he's going to play. That tells me everything I need to know, especially against his own defense. So I like Beasley a lot. I'm with you on the McKenzie stuff. You know what I mean? I'm with you on the McKenzie stuff. I think it's kind of chasing. He had a big week last week, but they also were benching guys and weren't playing guys full. They were missing Beasley still, and you got John Brown healthy. Who I also think is interesting. That's going to be something, right? That's a way to get different and play Josh Allen. I'm going to play Josh Allen with Diggs mostly. But to play Josh Allen on a team or two without Diggs and use some other receivers, he can still do the dirty, and Diggs can still have a touchdown, but not like smash, right? We saw that with Devontae Adams in week 17, which did us dirty. He got a touchdown, and Rodgers did well, but it was to everyone else around him. So those are different ways, but I do like Diggs. I do plan on having a good exposure to a pretty healthy dose of Diggs. And then, I think that the Colts receivers you can get really low owned. I just have a hard time going there. And I think that even I think my favorite receiver is probably Antonio Brown from the Bucks. We're talking about him getting rid of the ball quick. They've done that a lot to Brown. Like Mike Evans in the red zone. Chris Godwin's been like the downfield A-dot guy. But they've given a lot of screens to Brown and given him opportunities to make those kinds of plays. So I'm interested in him. Show. Joey, love what you said about Metcalf, too. I will be playing some Metcalf. No doubt. No doubt I'll be playing some Metcalf.
You guys know about what the Bucks did for Antonio Brown?
What did they do to him?
What was the question?
But they put him in a Mile High Club for masturbating on a plane?
Pretty much. He had incentives in his contract.
Oh, yes.
That they were like, we're going to get these for you. And that's why he got 14 targets. That's why a lot of them were screens, because the main ones was receptions.
That
is they went and got it for him. They went and got Mike Evans. They did it for everybody. But, like, I don't know. I think Chris Godwin is the one to really go get. But I like them both a lot. They're like 1 and 3 for me out of receivers. But I think Chris Godwin's yeah.
Well, we got to also think Evans went out of that game like in the first quarter too. So some of those targets went that way because of it.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
He's a decoy.
Yeah.
He might not even play.
Yeah, that is true. That is definitely true. It looks like Cooper Kupp is clear from the injured reserve. Boom. Interesting. Any interest in Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, I liked him. I said last week, like 2 weeks ago, he was a core play for me in the cash games against the same Seahawks in Seattle, and he got 9 targets, 8 receptions for 66 yards. He gets in the end zone, he's fine. He's 6,400. I like him a lot.
The last.
Who is that game?
Where is the game?
Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle. I'll say one.
I also like one last receiver too. What's his name? Josh Reynolds. He in last time against Seattle, he went 10 targets, 65 yards. Other time he had 10 targets. The other time against Seattle, 94 yards. So we're getting on FanDuel a $4,800 receiver, and he's gotten 20 targets against this team in 2 games.
Kupp wasn't there last week.
2 weeks ago, Kupp played.
Yeah, he was saying last week.
No. Against Seattle. The last 2 times against Seattle, Josh Reynolds has 20 targets.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I played against him.
Yeah, at 4,800, that's not bad.
Oh, he'll be crazy low owned, like ridiculously low owned. One last guy I want to ask you guys about: are you going to find any room at all to fit in Scary Terry? And the only reason I ask, listen, none of us think Alex Smith is the guy, but this is a team that struggles with downfield passing. That's been their MO all season. Now, I have concerns about the pass rush that Washington could see. I have concerns about Alex Smith having no mobility right now, which could lead to taking more sacks. But this is like every time we see Tampa, we take the deep ball guy against him. And that would be McLaurin, but he's got a hobbled Alex Smith. Are you making any room for him?
No.
Boom. I'll let you boy scream mode. Defenses. Tight ends.
Tight end is pretty simple. I think like Logan Thomas, if you're doing cash games in a 3-game slate, is just lock him in. He's the safest play. Gronk isn't bad. Don't be thinking like there's going to be a lot of volume, but he could catch 2 touchdowns and 3 catches for 40 yards or whatever. I see that. Dawson Knox is another one. If you think this game is going to be high scoring, I don't mind it. Allen likes to spread it around. And then Jack Doyle, I think, isn't bad too. But all the other tight ends, it's just nothing really. Like I can't depend on Higbee or Everett. I can't depend on that. I'm pretty much going to go with Thomas or Gronk, and that's it.
Yeah, it's hard to make too strong an argument. Paul, you got anything on the other guys?
Yes. I'm actually not going to play any of Logan Thomas. I'm just baiting him completely and taking my chances that somebody in the field beats him, and that somebody will be so low owned that it'll be like a really nice edge in.
You said the magic word, bro. Can't say.
Dude, I really don't think the Reds can score a touchdown.
I don't disagree. My only thing with Thomas, why I like him, is they may not score a touchdown, but they will throw, right? Because we think Brady's going to score somehow, so they're going to be trailing. So we think they'll throw. So him and McKissick, they just seem like such, and we don't like McLaurin. Who's he going to throw to? If it's not McLaurin, it's most likely going to be to either Logan Thomas or J.D. McKissick.
Agreed, but like no touchdowns. I think the Tampa Bay defense just dominates this game, like from start to end, and I don't know. It's just like feel like this slate's gonna be really chalky. This is where I'm gonna get different. I understand this, but but I feel like that's the spot where Logan Thomas is going to be crazy high owned, and I really can see like past it busting. And I just think there's a lot of plays out here, point per dollar wise and raw points, that can beat him.
Plus, how good are they going to do even if they do well? It's not like he's going to put up a 20 either.
Oh, every tight end could put up like an 8, and in that scenario, you're better off having paid as less as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I do like to take shots on Higbee. I'm going to play Gronk, Dawson Knox. I think the Indianapolis tight end scored 2 touchdowns this weekend. Hopefully it's the same guy, but all three, Mariah Cox, Trey Burton, and Jack Doyle, I think are all worth playing. Jack Doyle's probably the safest, but I think the other guys are going to be way lower owned and have higher ceilings. And that's probably the end of my list right there. Burton, Everett, Doyle, Knox, Higbee, Gronk. I don't think I play. And Mo Alley Cox. I think that's it.
I could dig it. Defenses, gentlemen?
Seattle. I have not gotten off them since last. They're 3,600 on FanDuel. They're the cheapest defense on Saturday's slate. Like, I have no idea why. Especially if Goff plays. Like, what they scored last time in Seattle, like 13, 14, like 10, 13 points. Like they're way underpriced. So Seattle. And then I guess if Heineke is the quarterback, if he really starting, then the Bucks see if you're going to pay up.
Paulie,
what'd you say?
Defenses.
Bucks D no matter what. I'm cool with some Seahawks. And then I think, like...
Don't you think they're underpriced, though, Paulie?
Yeah, but I feel like on DraftKings, you don't need the money at all.
No.
So, like, you can play whichever one you want. I think the Bills and Colts are also both, like, really good defenses and going to be really low owned compared to, like, their ability. So they're interesting. I have no interest in the Redskins and really not much in the Rams.
Yeah, I think I would agree with Paulie. I think the safest at this point seems to be Tampa Bay, just because we all expect such a lack of production. I do have some interest in the Rams, just to get a little bit different, but a team with upside. We do have a good pass rush there. We have a good cornerback. We can create turnovers against a team that I expect to pass a lot. And then my punt defense, I don't see myself needing a ton of it. My punt defense is Washington. Why not go with a team that we know can get sacks against a quarterback that's not really mobile at all? But I like Paulie. I do lean towards Brady being able to get rid of that ball quickly, and I agree. I don't think Washington. I like a lot of Washington players, but it's strictly for volume. That's it. I don't think any of them get in the end zone either. I have that confidence. All right, let's switch it over to the Sunday slate, gentlemen. Kicking it back to quarterbacks. It's time for them quarterbacks. Joey, I'm kicking it over to you, bro.
Yeah, quarterbacks on Sunday slate to me is pretty easy. I'm not going to try and overthink this. I'm not one to do a lot of lineups either, so it's not like I'm going to try and delve into somebody huge. But to me, it's Lamar Jackson. He has just the best floor and ceiling combo of the slate, I think. And last year in the playoffs, even though they lost, he tore up his Tennessee defense. So saw what Mr. Watson did against them last week. My favorite game of the slate. My favorite game to stack. Lamar Jackson obviously is my favorite quarterback on Sunday. My second favorite quarterback is Ben Roethlisberger. I feel like we got a Cleveland team coming in. They barely beat the same Steelers last week. Now Ben's had a week off, rest up. The secondary of Browns is not very good. It's going to be tough. It's in Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger, I could just see total annihilating this Cleveland defense. So those are the two quarterbacks I'm really looking into. I'm not going to get into playing Breeze because we've seen how Mr. Sean Payton wants to run his offense sometimes. They'll pull him out at the goal line just to put Taysom Hill in there and get him some cheap points and take some points away from him. So I'm just not going to Breeze in a game that I don't even think is going to be like a high-scoring back-and-forth affair. Trubisky, I think, could get replaced by halftime. And then Tannehill, I don't mind Tannehill. I think if that would be like number 3 if you're going to do that. And Baker, I just don't think it's going to be there.
Sure enough. Paulie, quarterbacks.
Yeah, so My favorite is Ben Roethlisberger. I like their offense a lot. I think it's very likely they throw. I'm just like, last week we saw, the last time Roethlisberger played 2 weeks ago against the Colts, in the first half, he was awful. And, like, if that guy shows up, ooh, it's going to be ugly. But in the second half, he rallied them back from, like, down 20, and, like, they end up winning that game, and he went out on a high. They got momentum. And if that guy shows up, they could tear up the Cleveland D. So Ben's my favorite, followed by Lamar. Like, I think there's a chance for that game, the Tennessee Ravens game, to be like very physical and low scoring and like a lot of running, the clock moves, but also could be like high scoring and just like good teams scoring the ball and racking up points. But I feel like it could go either way. The Steelers game, I'm more confident is high scoring. It's just will it be close or not? And then I honestly don't think I roster anybody else. Like I can make arguments for Tannehill, but at the end of the day, I don't truly think that he'll beat either of those two.
Man, I'm right there with you guys with the Steelers. Joe, we talked about this on the first look. Paulie, one of the first things you said to me when we talked about the Sunday slate a little bit earlier. When you're saving a lot of money going with Ben, we only like to play Ben at home. He's at home. He happens to be playing a pass funnel defense, and his team has not been able to run the ball anyway all season. So I'm with it, guys. I love it. I love Ben. I love the whole Steelers offense, and I think that you got some. What do we got? We got late night hammer action, right? We've got a game with a 47 total, which is not the highest on a slate, where 60% of the bets are coming in on the under. It just sets up so perfectly for this game to kind of turn into that shootout-esque. I don't think the Browns are going to go lightly. I really don't. So I think this game is one of the sneakier shootouts. And then other than that, it's either here or quarterbacks from the Tannehill Lamar. So it's clearly him then Lamar for me in terms of my rankings. But I will have some Tannehill just in case, because the Titans games have shot out so crazy this year. It's been absurd. But I still think like we can just play skill position players from those games and use Big Ben as like a low-owned money saver and on a point per dollar basis compete. So I like that a lot. What about running backs, Joe?
Yeah, running backs. Obviously, Derrick Henry is on the slate, and he's going to be very highly owned. But I think if you wanted to fade him, I think you totally could. He's not going to put up 35 points against the Ravens D. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just not. Like, and so I could just see like I could see going there, obviously for like cash games or whatever, because he's going to be so highly owned. But I think dropping down, saving $1,200 and getting Kamara in a better spot at home, knowing Breeze is going to pepper him with targets, knowing that the other targets are that are returning with Michael Thomas and stuff like that, he's going to be way more involved. Moving down, David Montgomery, just have no interest in him. The wheels are going to fall off for Chicago this week. Nick Chubb, obviously, if you think that this game is going to be, it goes to what I said earlier with the Washington game. If you think this game is going to be really close, then you have Chubb with Ben. But if you don't think it's going to be close, then you put Ben with Hunt. Because I feel like this could turn into a Kareem Hunt game, even though I'm a big Nick Chubb fan, obviously. But for some reason, even last week, like he had like a great over 100 yards, but he had one run and then he only had 14 carries. They just don't seem to want to really commit to him. I think that if you're any lineup that you don't have Lamar Jackson, you need to have J.K. Dobbins at running back. I think that you're going to be able to run on this Tennessee D. And then going down below after that is just nobody really I'm into at all. James Conner, I think, could also be very contrarian too, if you want to like put him on a team without Ben.
Yeah, if you want to suck it hard and long.
Hey, you could tell him. Hey, he could. You don't think he could score 2 touchdowns, 6,200? He's really cheap, man. It could totally be a troll job.
Could.
Like, think about it. Like, if Ben doesn't do it and they win big, how does that
Benny
happen?
Snell.
even another control drop.
Yeah. No, I feel you. Just busting balls, if you know what I'm saying. Paulie, what about you, man? Running backs.
Is absolutely Kamara over Henry. Definitely playing Kamara. The guy scored 6 touchdowns last time he dressed. Like forget about it. I do really like James Conner. I think if the Steelers do blow out the Browns, then James Conner has a really good day. I think if that game's close, then James Conner could become a little bit more invisible. But the Steelers get up, they're not going to continue to throw the ball. They are going to run James Conner. They're going to run him as just part of their offense. They're predominantly throw, but they do mix in the run. And, he's done well against him in the past. He's way too cheap. Yeah, he can get 5 targets. He can catch one from Roethlisberger. You could play him with Roethlisberger without. Yeah, Kareem Hunt, like the game script that I'm seeing, either it's back and forth scoring with Pittsburgh playing from ahead, I think, or Pittsburgh smokes them. Like, that sets up well for Hunt, but I do also like Chubb a lot. I like J.K. Dobbins a lot, and I think that's the extent. I don't plan to play much Montgomery, much Henry, but I will have a lot of Kamara, Connor, Hunt, Chubb, Dobbins, and some Gus Edwards.
Yeah, I love Kamara. Assuming he plays, he indicated that he was hinting that he thinks he's going to play. But I think the Saints defense, which spoiler alert, I like the Saints defense is going to do well, and it's going to lead to Kamara. It's going to lead to Lat Murray getting a lot of touches. I like the Dobbins call as well, especially if I'm planning on playing Ben. I'm hoping that Dobbins is the one that has the big game because I don't see the Titans defense stopping very much. So I like that. And then, of course, Nick Chubb. I agree with Joe. I like Nick Chubb. Hunt at 4,800 in a trailing game script, but Nick Chubb in like a shootout, right? In a shootout type environment, give me Nick Chubb. They're trailing by a decent amount because Big Ben is bowling out there and Baker's not playing well, then yeah, I think Joe described that perfectly. But those are the main guys. What's that?
In the lineup. Both Browns guys on a Roethlisberger team with 2 Roethlisberger
Absolutely,
receivers.
yeah, absolutely. You certainly could. And to me, that's a shootout build, right? Like they're having success. That's the shootout, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I'll work in some Henry. He's going to be chalky. It's a tough matchup, but it's fucking Derrick Henry, and he's by far like the most like guaranteed volume. I would say Kamara. Like, listen, I love Kamara, but the one thing about Kamara is he didn't practice right in a couple weeks. I don't think it matters, but the whole COVID thing is crazy bullshit. But I do prefer Kamara over Henry as of now. What about wide receivers?
Yeah, one last thing, everybody out there. If for some reason Kamara doesn't get cleared, it's
load the fuck up for you kids. It's like all in.
Everything.
Let's go.
Yeah,
it is you play.
Fucking your kid's college money. Put it on there. You know what I'm saying? If that's that situation, your fucking mortgage, put it on there. You know what I'm saying? Let's fucking go.
Wide receiver, Deontay Johnson week, buddy. That's what it is. Boom. The volume, the target, everything just points to him. He's got a great price on FanDuel. Lock him in. He's going to be in pretty much all my lineups on Sunday. On my Saturday, Sunday slate, he is. It's a must-win game. He's been coming up big ever since people were doubting him a few weeks ago. AJ Brown, I like, but I'm just not in love with his matchup. I prefer Corey Davis's matchup better. And last time against Baltimore, Corey Davis was very, very productive against them. 5 for 113. I'll take that at his price. Michael Thomas at below 7K is an amazing price. I think that people are going to be off of him. I think that they really, really held him back for the playoffs. He's had a very winnable matchup. Jarvis Landry, if we have this script where they're going to be playing from behind, I don't mind putting Landry and Hunt on the same team if you're not going to go with Chubb and go another way. And then the guy I think that's going to be very popular, Marquise Hollywood Brown at 6,300. pairing him with Lamar Jackson. He's scored a touchdown like his last 5 games. It hasn't been like any blow-up games, but like he scored, like I said, 6 touchdowns, 5 or 6 games. He's doing really well. And I think that he's going to be able to beat the slow cornerbacks of the Ravens or of the Titans. Last guy I'll probably talk about, then I'll throw it to Paul. I mean, Allen Robinson obviously is fine. He's got a decent matchup. I think he'll be fine. Corey Davis I already talked about. But I think that if you're doing your Ben stacks, I'm thinking of pairing him with Deontay and Chase Claypool, hoping for you get the volume with Deontay and then you get a couple bombs to Claypool, and that's how you win with that stack. Paulie, I'm throwing it to you.
Yes, I agree with a lot of that. Where is? Hold on a second. I just got an idea, and okay, yeah, good. All right. Absolutely, Deontay Johnson. Like, forget about it. And I'm gonna have a lot of 2 Steeler receiver lineups. You know, I'll be using the flex mostly for receivers. I think receivers way deeper, way higher ceilings. Claypool, Juju, very, very close, but Claypool's definitely got the higher ceiling. And then I think it's also worth like building in some James Washington. Like, he does get enough market share. It's significantly behind the other 3, but he does get enough. And like the way that he scores, like he could be a slate breaker. And if you're gonna have a lot of Ben, like he's worth working in to get different and for value. And then I do really like Marquise Brown. He's in a phenomenal spot, and like him and Lamar have been like really locked in lately. I do like Allen Robinson. I do think there's a chance the Bears lead that game. I'm not convinced the Saints are like 100% like legit. I do like Jarvis Landry, AJ Brown. You gotta like the little Corey Davis too. And that's probably the extent. And some Michael Thomas, but I'm not huge on Michael Thomas. You know, like even when he's played this year, he hasn't done very well that often. You know, I think he really like soured his relationship with the team. And yeah, they'll go to him if they need to, but you know, I don't know. I think these other receivers just have higher ceilings right now, as crazy as it is to say. But it's hard to envision him getting like this 15 target game and like being dominant. And I expect that game to be kind of low scoring too. So it's all the Steelers guys, Brown, the 2 guys from the Titans, and Jarvis Landry and Allen Robinson is like my entire pool.
Yeah, I like the Corey Davis call. He's 4,800 on DraftKings, and he had 11 targets against Houston. I know he didn't really do all that well, but he's showing massive upside, and he provides some leverage off of Derrick Henry and Brown, who will be really popular. But obviously, I like AJ Brown. But the Steelers guys, let's go. We said it. Deontay Johnson, let's fucking go. You better believe, though, I'll have some fucking teams with Claypool and Juju instead, just in case Deontay Johnson pulls the old Hemi. Motherfuckers made of glass. Dropsies. Dropsies too. Dropsies too. Dropsies no quitsies.
Who do you guys got winning the Titans game?
Ravens.
Baltimore.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree.
And,
like I said going in like a couple like pods ago, I'm like, Baltimore is the one team I don't want to see right now.
Yep, you have said that.
You have.
Very
John
true.
Cena that ass. Can't see me. Tight ends?
What would be the biggest upset of the weekend? Chicago?
That'd be pretty big, yeah. I think so. That'd be pretty fucking big.
I think the Redskins.
Well, that would be the biggest. Yeah, the Redskins would be the biggest.
Yeah. No, that wouldn't.
If they won outright.
Alex Smith knocking Tom Brady out of the playoffs against like one of the best defenses with, you know, barely healthy and McLaurin's questionable.
Yeah, but it's still like they're on the road. You know, like they're still on the road. Like there's been history of a wild card team, you know, losing to a team that should not be hosting a game because they won their division, like Washington. You know what
Okay.
I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't shock me because it's happened before. Like, Chicago going into the Dome, beating the Saints.
I agree. Like, like that quarterback's just doesn't have it. But I think it'll be lower scoring, and like I don't see Tampa Bay not putting up a big number, and I don't see the Redskins scoring at all. Like, I just think Tom Brady methodically dices them up like the vet that he is, with the better team. Where like the Browns played the Bears played the Saints earlier this year, and like they led. The Saints I think ended up coming back and winning, but that to me is two good defenses and like injury battle wounded offenses right now, like with not very strong armed quarterbacks. Like I see that one being lower scoring, even though it's in the dome.
See, like, I think, if we get to the best bets, I think taking Washington plus 8.5. I like that.
Okay. Back to that Titans game, low scoring or high scoring?
High scoring.
I think it'll be high scoring. How it's high scoring is the thing, but I think it'll be high scoring.
I think it'll start slow, but we're gonna have a great second half.
I wouldn't be surprised to see like the Ravens score a defensive touchdown or two. Like to keep the shootout rolling. But like Tennessee, I respect their offense enough with clear conditions. Like I'm looking at the Packer game, and to me that was like they didn't look very comfortable in that snow. They didn't look very comfortable at all. But I do think that the Titans' defense is too fucking bad for the games not to shoot out, and I think their offense is actually legitimately good. And while the Ravens, I think, are a respectable defense, they are a little banged up, right? Calais Campbell and these guys are playing through injuries for the last, 5 weeks. So it's hard for me to envision it being low scoring. Maybe not like the crazy 60 fucking point game, but to imagine it being low scoring is tough. I agree with Joe. Even if there's a bad half, you still have a whole other half that they can put up points in. How?
It's the number 1 and 2 rushing offenses in football. Like that's the only thing that concerns me is like that clock's gonna
be running like dicks.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I would bet the under, like 54.5. I think is way too high, but I do agree though. Like it could get close. Like it could be fireworks there, even though they're gonna run the ball. I just see a lot of talent on the field, and they're gonna make plays. And the Tennessee defense is so bad. Like, how does Baltimore not score?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. Agree with that. Yeah, I don't have too much different to add. Steelers all day. Let's go. Tight ends.
Yeah, tight ends. I think that like Mark Andrews is, no Kelsey, no Waller. Andrews is like, if you put both days together, he's like the elite option, I guess. Third in the NFL in target share, second in red zone targets. He generates 7 targets his last 2 games against the Titans. So I think like if you want like a safe play, Andrews is the play because the Titans are dead last in DVOA against the tight end position and gave up the 13th most fantasy points to the position this year. So I like Andrews. Jonnu Smith, I think, is a good contrarian play. You just got to hope that he gets in the end zone. You know what I'm saying? He's going to get targeted in that area. And at 5,200, he doesn't need much to make value. And the Ravens aren't very good against the tight ends. They're the 11th worst team against tight ends. And then I like Jared Cook. He's got a good matchup against the Bears, who've allowed the 5th most targets and the 6th most receptions, 3rd most TDs, and the 2nd most fantasy points to tight ends this year. So Cook also scored a touchdown, went 5 of 51 with 7 targets against the Bears back in Week 8. So Jared Cook, Smith, or Andrews are the 3. I don't mind, like Paulie was saying, Doyle, or if you're doing a lot of lineups, do it with Doyle or Burton, something like that. But
not on the slate.
No.
Doyle rules. That's how good a Doyle is. I can play him anyway. Figure out a way to play him on the Sunday slate if you're a real fucking alpha. That's what Joe's telling you to do. Yeah. Literally hack DraftKings and FanDuel. Put him in the player pool for just yourself. Let's go.
What about I like Jimmy Graham over Cole Kmet though this week too.
Get the fuck out of here, Jimmy Graham over Cole
Jimmy
Kmet.
Graham over Cole Kmet.
I know. Hey, Kmet's done shit though. Okay. Like,
Yeah.
literally, he's done shit.
He had like 8 targets last week.
He did. He did well.
And didn't he have a touchdown called back? Like 8 targets.
Fumbled.
This slate is so much more loaded. Like there's so many more options, right?
Yeah.
Like this one is the way more fun one. Oh yeah. Like Eric Ebron, 3,700 against Cleveland, who struggled all year against tight ends. Austin Hooper, 3,900. Jared Cook is back in business with Drew Brees at the realm. Not to mention you've got Mark Andrews, who is a top tight end just in general. So it's pretty loaded here. Pretty loaded. I will say this is Harrison Bryant won't be available for the Browns, so that's a big boost for Hooper, so yeah, Hooper. Big boost for Hooper, which works well for us. We're looking for a shootout in that game. Let's go. Defense is Joe.
Saints D. Really, I look at all the other games and all the other, I'm not. I could see like a shootout with the other, like you said, Baltimore. You could get contrarian going with Baltimore because you're getting him at the lowest price. You'll probably get him all season. The Steelers D, I think, will be the pay up option, but Baker's been pretty good, not turning the ball over and stuff like that. So I'm not really into that. And I think if you really, really want to get contrarian, we've seen Drew Brees screw up here and there, and him not being able to throw deep. Maybe the Bears defense at 3,700 would be really contrarian. But to me, it's the Saints, 46. Don't try and overthink things.
Paulie?
Yeah, I like the Saints. I like the Steelers. Saints have one of the best kick return men in the game. Steelers, I just could see, the Browns messing it up. I think you could play the Browns. I think it'd probably be smart to in Roethlisberger teams to like head against yourself, all of us. And the Ravens, I think, are certainly viable. They've got a good kick return game as well. Duvernay's already taken some back this year. Don't see playing the Titans. Don't see playing the Bears much.
Yeah, I have a consensus here. I think we all like the Saints. The Saints are one of the best fantasy scoring defenses all season, and now we got the Mr. Red Hot Mitch Trubisky, Red Hot Mitch. Let's fucking go. Yeah, I'm with you. Saints D all day. That's probably the easiest decision of the slate for me. Everything else, well, that and like going heavy on the Steelers. I really think like with all the options, like I'm gonna stick to a theme of the Steelers Browns game as much as I can. Mostly the Steelers. And, hope and pray for the best. Isn't it funny, though, how the 2 first games of both slates are the highest totals by far in each one? Mm-hmm. Ownership City, as if ownership wasn't going to be high enough. College boy. All right, any thoughts about the 2-game slates? Any quick strategies before we get up out of here? Or 2-day slates?
Yeah, I mean, I like playing the 2-game 2-day slates. There's some decent tournaments on FanDuel because I'm not a high volume player. So if you're a guy like me, there's some decent tournaments. There's enough there that everybody have fun. I think that
there's plenty of the tournaments are there on both sides, in my opinion.
Yeah, I know that they don't get the quote unquote main treatment as the people want because you don't have like the MMEs and stuff like that. But I'm just gonna throw out a quick core for you guys: Lamar Jackson, J.D. McKissick, Deontay Johnson, and Mark Andrews. If you were gonna do a little cash core, I don't mind it. Another core you can go with would be Josh Allen, Alvin Kamara, Stephon Diggs, and Jared Cook. That's one I like too.
I like playing the 6-game slate because it's just like much more spread out ownership, and since we all like the Steelers and it's like the last game, you got to survive 6 games worth of ownership. Like it's probably going to be really low owned on that slate. Where on the 3-game on Sunday, it's going to be probably the second highest owned offense and like stacks, and it's like it's actually way more attractive to me on the 6-game slate. So for that reason alone, I like that idea, and then it's just another way to get action throughout the slate. Like I'm gonna play them both.
Yeah, there's a good tournament on FanDuel, a $12 980 person.
Contest are
$1,000.
totally fine.
Yeah.
I let it, boy, when you scream in the street, see me in the streets. That's gonna do it, nation. Covered both slates, did the dirty. I'm excited. I feel better about it after talking to you gentlemen. May make a change or two to the article, but overall, I thought it was pretty interesting how we all ended up. We've been playing DFS for a while, but we all ended up on the Steelers offense. Literally the last game of everything this weekend. But I like it. It should be a fun one. Anything in closing before we get up out of here, gentlemen?
And enjoy the playoffs, guys. This is like 2 days of 3 games a day. It's the first time it's happened like we opened the show with, so I'm really looking forward to watching as much as I can while I'm taking care of 3 Devils.
Yeah.
Thug Life. For Paulie D, for Patio Joe, myself, the entire White Stick Nation, as always, good luck.
Yeah.